Okay, awesome. And I went ahead and started recording as well so that we can share this. Or you can go back and review it again if you need to. So whenever you log in from that admin site that of the link that I included in that email with the login credentials, it's going to bring you to this kind of home page. If you ever want to come back to the home page, you're just going to click this little house icon in the top left-hand corner.
Okay.
It's comprised of 3 different dashboards, and I am going to go ahead and also bring up our example site. Since we don't have a whole lot filled out in here right now, this will make it easier for us to know what it'll look like when everything's completed as far as information goes. So we've got 3 different dashboards. Our membership dashboard are these 2 at the very top. After we create your your member types, so like our regular subscribers, and then as we need to, the different dates that you'll have the membership years, or they're not membership years, but as far as, you know, how we have the quarterly and the bi-yearly.
Right.
All of those different
full dates.
Yes, exactly. So we'll set up those member types, set on those different dates, and I'm going to show you how you can create a new member type as well. So that way, if down the road you get this, you know, kind of weird one-time different expiration date, you can still create a member type that will house that and allow that to be possible. But once they're created, your member types will fall underneath kind of this admin area, so underneath this current membership rosters. So for example, you'll see in the member clicks test site, we have agency, associate, lifetime. Each of these are different member types. Now this one, with this, it almost looks like there's a sub-member type underneath it. This is a organizational member type. You're not going to have that. You're just going to have individual member types from what I collected on our last phone call. So things like this associate and lifetime.
Right.
So those will all fall in here. Now we discussed a 30-day, if I'm remembering correctly, like a 30-day grace period. So this will give you a great quick snapshot to see how many active subscribers you have. Once your active subscribers have not paid their subscription, then they'll move it over into the grace period, which they have 30 days to pay those dues or those fees. If they haven't paid those fees, then they'll move over into the lapse. At that time, they won't be able to use their login credentials for any, maybe like if you have subscriber-specific info on your site or any other kind of information that may not be available to the public, they now won't be able to see that because they'll be kind of just like the public at that point.
So the aging, pardon me, the aging and the decreditization, whatever word you want to call it, that all happens. The system does that by itself.
That's exactly right. And another awesome thing about that is we're going to set up some notifications that the system will automatically set up. So once the renewal period comes up for those subscribers, the system can send up to 4 automatic emails or notifications saying, hey, it's time to renew your dues, you know, to continue to be a subscriber with us, whatever kind of verbiage you want to throw in that email. So we can set up to 4 of those, and it'll have the invoice attached, so they can pay that fee right from the invoice or right from the email. They can pay that invoice.
Okay, so the payment system will collect it right from that invoice then. That's good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now the system, and I'll show you where we can do this as well, but if they don't pay within that active period, they receive those automatic notifications, still haven't paid, and they end up in the grace period, we can set up another up to 4 additional emails to go out saying, okay, you're in your grace period, like you're in the clear for the next 30 days, but after that you won't be able to use your login, so please go ahead and pay for your subscription. You also may want to add some verbiage like, if you don't plan on continuing to subscribe with us, please let us know and we'll take you off our list, or whatever that may be.
And the system will insert the correct date and correct amount?
That's exactly right.
Okay, good.
And yeah, and then lastly, the lapsed will be, once again, we can set up to 4 emails letting them know that they've lapsed, and another opportunity, up to 4 additional opportunities to pay their invoice.
And all, pardon me, and all those messages and things we set up on the admin side?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
And I'll actually, there should have been a notifications document that I sent to you in that big email. And if you'll just fill that out, complete it, and send it to me, I'll put in the information where it needs to go for you. But I'm also going to show you today how you can edit that information later on if you need to.
Okay, yeah, I see the messages here. That is the message itself is not editable, is it? What you sent me?
Yes, it is.
It is? Oh, okay.
That verbiage that says like with its like first name, like insert first name, and then it's I don't remember what all it says, but that
Okay.
whole yeah, that whole email you can make that text whatever you want it to be.
And then send it back to you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And just let me know the dates that you want them to go out. And so like I said, you can set up to 4 notifications for each of those status periods, but you don't have to set up the full 4 if you feel like that's overkill for your subscribers.
Gotcha.
Something that I love about this, so I always kind of throw this in there, it's kind of best practices that I've noticed, is if you start seeing a ton of lapsed members, and they've been lapsed or lapsed subscribers and they've been lapsed for like 2 years, you haven't heard anything from them, they're taking up your custom profiles at that point. Those are custom profiles you could be using for members that are or for subscribers that would be paying. So in that case, you don't have to get rid of their profile. You can delete them if you want to, and you always, I'm going to show you how you can search deleted profiles, and you can still pull them back into the system if you need to. However, another way that you could handle that is changing them from a member type or from one of your subscriber types to a prospect profile. So you
Right.
still have their profile. You can always change them back. You're keeping all their info, but they're not taking up your custom profiles. So you have room for new subscribers.
Okay. And the custom, the active people, we have a capacity limit?
You do. It is 300 custom profiles and 900 prospect profiles at this time. Wait, I'm sorry. This isn't you. Hold on. You have.
I think that's the same number, I think. Yeah.
You're exactly right. It is.
Yeah. And now having asked the question, I remember. I think Michelle got that information earlier.
Gotcha. You can level up with us if you need to. I don't know the specifics as to what that process would look like other than me just getting you in touch with our billing team. Or if you've graduated at that point, getting in touch with our help team and telling them that you need a larger capacity for profiles. They would just get you in touch with billing. I think you can, instead of doing the whole level up, I know you can buy additional prospect profiles. I don't know about the other, but maybe we'll just talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, that's a great problem to have.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Something else that's really cool about this membership dashboard area is right now you don't have members here, but once numbers start to populate, you can click on any of these and it'll directly take you to a list, and you can contact those members from any of these lists. So if you ever need to send out a newsletter or a follow-up email or tell your graced members, hey, just another make sure you pay kind of email, I'm going to show you how we can use our profile list to do that here shortly.
Okay.
And then we have just basically the same thing, but this is only going to show you new members in the last 90 days. That's just because we know how important it is to quickly and frequently contact those new members or new subscribers in your case. Now, are you guys going to be having any events?
We'd like to plan some next year in coordination with another group, but we'd like to also have a few simple things of our own. So that's not decided upon, but it's sort of a possibility.
Okay, great. So this is an option that you have when you kind of decide to start developing that. This will just show 3, and there's way more that goes into this, but once again, this is just kind of a snapshot of what this will look like. This will show up to 3 event names or events that have come and passed, and it'll show you what events those were, the date that they occurred, and how many people attended.
Okay.
And then same thing, we have up to 3 events that can show for upcoming, the date that they'll be on, and who's registered so far. So the way that'll look is just like here. Name, the date, and who attended.
Okay.
And then lastly, we have some financial dashboards. I think these are just great. Once again, snapshots. So aged receivables shows you any open invoices and how long they've been open for. So if you start to see a ton of 91 plus invoices that have been open, then you know you got a problem because that's not good. But then and it'll just show you how much money each of those, or how much money falls into each of these categories as well as far as past due. And then lastly, we have the sales over time chart. So we can go into our revenue accounts, which I'll have collected from you, and be able to input. We'll be able to select, like maybe it's the fees or dues or however you'll call that money that you're collecting, whatever that revenue account will be called. You can select it, and then you'll be able to apply the filter, and this will adjust according to how much money has come in through that revenue account per month.
Okay.
So, real life example, I can go into the revenue accounts. I can choose membership dues, apply filter, and this will show me this is probably the renewal period for this, for what we set up in here, but we spiked and then we just kind of leveled out. And then over here, these are all those invoices that are past due.
Somebody owes a lot of money.
That's right. Do you have any questions on any of these dashboards?
No, and this is all pre-built templates, right?
It is. That's right. We can't change anything in this area.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Thanks. Okay.
Of course. Awesome. So then the next thing I would go over are our account settings. I'm just going to go under settings and account settings.
Now the previous screens we just saw were under the home tab.
That's exactly right. That's all right under this home icon.
Okay.
So this time we're going to kind of jump around between tabs today. It's a little difficult to follow.
The idea, it's all there someplace. It's just a matter of finding it. That's key.
Exactly. And then we don't have like a crazy, I mean, you'll notice there's not, website and community house a few, but hopefully they're pretty intuitive as to where some things are located.
It's pretty straightforward.
So we're under our account settings. After you've graduated, you'll have, like if you have a question, you'll call into our help team.
Okay.
And they'll ask for your account number. You don't have to memorize it. It's always going to be located just right here for you. And that's just so they can recognize your account.
Okay.
And then this is where you can come and take a peek at how many of your profiles you've used and how many you have left.
I see. Okay.
ASAs are just going to be you and Michelle.
Yes. Well, at this point, you can make more. I take it from this dashboard or from someplace.
What we say is if you complete implementation within 60 days, which you definitely will, then you can have a third ASA. An ASA is what I call a super admin. You have the ability to call in and ask questions with our help team. Is basically
okay.
We can create admin, and I'll show you that in a second, but we can create a separate just like regular admin category. So if you have anybody else who's going to be working on the back end, we can give that admin group permissions to the back end. But they can't call in the help team to ask questions because they won't have a PIN number, and that's something else the help team will ask is what your PIN number is, and only ASAs are assigned PIN numbers.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. You're in Virginia, so I'm assuming we're going to stick to Eastern Time.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. And then, so the membership year is going to be anniversary, so it's going to change, but we still have to have some type of starting date. Do you have technically like a financial member or a financial year that you use?
Yeah, it's a calendar year.
Awesome. So I'm just going to leave this how it is. I don't remember if we discussed member numbers. I don't think so. I'm going to be, I always keep this toggled on just because I think that member numbers is a great part of the system to use. You may not use it now, but you may need to use it later. And I just think it's helpful to track members with these. We can permission them off so they don't show up in your members' profile, so your members don't even know they exist. It can just be purely a system attribute. And I'll show you where that'll appear in the profiles, and I'll also show you where we can permission this off so your members don't even see it.
Because is it part of their login?
No, it's not.
Okay, so it's just purely an administrative ranking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it just will randomly assign numbers to your members. And like I said, some people don't even bother them. They don't even use them. And technically I can toggle it off, but I always like to leave them toggled on in case you ever want to use them in the future.
Okay.
I think you will be using QuickBooks, so we're going to leave this toggled on.
Okay.
Do you have a notification or an email, so those automatic notifications we talked about that are going to come from the system? So let's say I get a Grace notification and I'm like, I wasn't supposed to get this. I already paid, which won't happen, but in case it does, they need to respond to whoever and say, hey, I wasn't supposed to get this email. I thought I already paid. What happened? We just typically put in an email that they would be responding to.
Yeah.
Do you guys have one of those at this time?
I want to say that we have like info@mailershub.com, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
I got to check into that.
Okay. I'll throw this in here and it's easy to update it.
Okay.
And then this is just the billing contact information for member clicks to have.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can put my email in there if you want to.
Awesome. It's lraymond@mailershub.com, right?
Yep.
Okay. Almost.
Or mailers who? Typing. I'm a terrible typist.
I feel like anytime I ever have to type and I know somebody's watching me, it's like my fingers just don't work. It happens every time without a doubt. I'm like, and especially spelling. I'm a horrible speller, so you're probably going to notice that as well as we make it through our trainings. Awesome. So next we're going to go through the financial piece.
Okay.
So to do that, I'm just going to go to or I should ask you, do you have any questions on any of those account settings that we just reviewed?
No. Are those things that you set or that I can set?
You can set these too. So everything that I'm doing, I'm logged in as you right now.
Oh, okay. I see. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so everything that I'm seeing, you'll be able to see the exact same thing when you log in.
Okay.
So you can definitely come in here and change any of the stuff. So for financial, I'm just going to come under financial and invoices. So it'll take you directly to your invoice list. So right now we're at the invoice list page. If we're toggling between these different icons to get back to this page, we would just choose invoice list. And this is going to be where all of your invoices will populate in. So to show you what that'll look like, I just did the same thing, financial and invoices. So this is what this area will look like as you've moved through creating invoices for your subscribers.
Okay.
To view an invoice, all we would have to do is choose the invoice number, and we are going to go over in just a second how to create invoice templates. So the invoice template is how the invoice will appear to your subscribers. So that's going to be like any notes that you want to add in here. The info that will appear up here. We'll also be able to put in your logo to show in the top right-hand corner. And then we'll also be able to set some additional settings like within how many days is the invoice due. We can set up some additional automatic notifications, and I'll get to that in just a second. But this is how overall your invoice will look.
Okay.
We have the option, so if you want to give your subscribers the option to pay later with a check, we can force them to just pay immediately in the system with a card. But if you want them to have the option to pay later with a check, all you'd have to do is come into their open invoice, which you can search. You would pay the invoice and apply the check information once you've received it.
Okay. You can give the recipient of the invoice choices as to how to pay.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
You can. You can also go to the person's, like if you select an invoice, you can go directly to their profile from here as well.
Okay.
And I'll show you what that'll look like. Going back to the invoice list, so we can choose some custom filters as far as what type of invoice we're looking for, whether it came from a form, if it's a credit memo, if it's a renewal, meaning they've renewed their subscription. And ad hoc is just going to be any invoice that the admin has created from the system.
Okay.
So in that case, if somebody is like, I always use like if they wanted to buy a t-shirt from you, like if you decided to sell t-shirts and they're like, yeah, I want this t-shirt, how much is it? $25. Awesome. You can go into the system, create an invoice for $25 and just send it to them to pay.
So no, it's ad hoc as anything else.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if it stands for admin, but I like to say like ad hoc admin invoice that the admin gets to create.
Okay.
We'll go with it. So then you'll notice you can see the status, the total amount the due date, and then we can view it or void it. You
All
can
right.
search. You can search your invoices by any of these fields. Some awesome things you can also do is you can email directly from here. If I tag one of these, I'll be able to re-email that invoice. Maybe they lost it in their email, or maybe they just want it for a receipt. You can send it to them for that. You can also create a PDF of the invoice, print it out, and send it through the mail.
Okay. And the void button means that it's deleting the invoice.
It's not technically going to delete it, but it'll void it, so it no longer will be owed. It'll still
Okay.
show. It'll just show voided.
But its existence won't stop. It'll just not be. The system will not be aging it anymore.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Okay.
What else do I want to point out here? Something that I also like to say that this can be used for, or something else I like to point out is even if I've paid my subscription directly from the form, like I filled the form out, went ahead and paid it, an invoice is still going to be created in the system and it'll just automatically show paid.
Okay.
And then that way you can always email to them if they need it for a receipt.
Okay.
So next we're going to take a peek at those invoice templates that I mentioned a second ago. So I'm going to go into your area. So to create an invoice template, I'm just going to select create an invoice template.
Okay.
I'm going to name this one your default. The reason we'll need a default invoice template is because there are different areas in the system where we'll need to set these up at, like at forms or in your member type settings. We're going to go over that together. But if you ever forget to select an invoice template, it'll always go back to using your default.
Okay.
Net due is just going to be how many days your subscriber has to pay their invoice for this particular invoice template.
Okay.
So
Now, we hope to have it set up on an auto renewal, so we can put in 30 days, I guess, if you want.
Okay, if you're doing auto renew, when we get to the MAH area, we need to make sure that we tell Heart that because there's a little bit of additional paperwork and like an additional transaction fee as well.
Okay.
I think it's like maybe $5 more a month or something like that.
Okay.
It's confusing, this area. This footer information is actually those notes that I pointed out on the invoice. I wish they just called it notes information, but it'll show right up. Just to re-point out where those are in this area.
Oh, down there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. Like put the other footer. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Footer I would think would be maybe info down here or something, but
yeah.
But that's where that information will show up. And then we have these additional automatic emails that'll go out. Now we are going to set automatic emails up for dues in the dues area. So we're going to go through that. However, if you have an event that comes up, or maybe it's a donation or some type of any other kind of payment,
Okay.
you may want to set up some notifications that go out for that. So we've covered the notifications that go out for dues, but we still would need to cover any automatic notifications you would want to go out for anything else that comes from the system.
Okay. So right now, new invoice email applies just for that type of non-recurring things.
Exactly. So like an event, you would want to set up maybe an email to let the person know, hey, we've created a new invoice for you. A reminder email letting them know when they need to pay. You have 3 days before this invoice is due.
Right.
Past due, your invoice is 45 days past due. And then you can also set up a payment notification email letting them know that they have paid the invoice.
Okay.
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 Well, actually, I did want to save that. Okay. Next, we have some general settings for your invoices. I'm going to go ahead and fill this out with your physical address. So this is going to go in the organization information.
Okay.
So that's where it showed on the invoice, like in the top left-hand corner. I'll go ahead and point it out. Here it is.
Ah, okay.
And then your logo it has not been, I don't think it's been put in here yet, but when it is, then That'll just be your logo that'll show up on the top right-hand corner.
Well, you got it, right? I think I sent it to you last week.
I do. I won't be able to grab it from my system until my designer set it up, and it'll take. I did email them to set your design up, but it'll take them like 7 days to set everything up.
Okay.
And then I'll be able to grab it and throw it in here.
Okay.
And then lastly, we have this area where you can choose your next invoice number.
Okay.
And so if you want your invoices to start at 1, we can do that. If you want them to start at 1,000, or if you have an invoice you want to pick up on, or whichever, then we can put that in here.
I think 1's good.
Okay.
Well, 1's a logical point to start.
Awesome. Sounds perfect. The next thing to review are these revenue accounts. So once you have some revenue accounts established, you can send those to me and I can add them in. Do you have revenue accounts already? No, you don't.
What are you thinking when you say revenue account? Like a sponsorship?
Yeah, sponsorships would be a particular revenue account, just wherever you want your money to filter into, like what you'll be using in QuickBooks.
Oh. I mean, where the money goes? Our bank account.
But more specific. So like when you have QuickBooks, you don't have QuickBooks set up yet. That's something that you need to do?
Yes.
Okay. So when you set QuickBooks up, you'll create different revenue accounts. Like you'll have a dues revenue account, maybe an events revenue account, maybe like a sponsorship or donation, stuff like that.
Oh, it's categorizing your revenue source.
Right, because what we can do from here is I'm going to show you how later on we can pull a transaction account or a transactions from this area. So every transaction that's occurred in your system will be able to pull it out, and then you can import it into QuickBooks and you can reconcile your accounts that way.
Okay.
So I'll create these for you, but if you ever need to create a new revenue account, it's really simple. We're just going to select Add New Revenue Account. This is probably the easiest thing to do in our system.
Yeah, because right now we would have basically 3. We would have regular subscriptions, we'd have sponsorships, and we'd have event registrations.
Okay. So my button's not working. I'm like, it's so easy. And now I'm like,
when your button doesn't work.
Yeah, it works on my other. Let's give it another go. Revenue accounts, add new revenue account. There we go. So you said regular subscriptions?
Yes.
So regular subscriptions to me, I know it's not technically called dues, but this is going to be like where your dues would go into.
Yes.
So I'm going to toggle on that this is dues revenue.
Okay.
You can add a description, but you don't have to.
Okay.
Once I select save, that's all we have to do.
Okay.
And you said there were 2 others?
Sponsorships.
Okay.
And event registrations.
Yeah, it was registrations.
Yeah.
I got it. I did it.
So now do these enable sub-accounts, or do you not get that sophisticated?
Absolutely. So if you have a sub-account, all we would do is, like if it's event registrations, have to think about it, registrations. There we go. We would add a colon, and then we would put whatever the name of the sub-account is. Like
okay. I see. Gotcha.
Exactly. And then we can even go further than that. We can either have sub-accounts, and we would just add whatever additional item we need to add in.
So the sub is defined by the colon.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And no spaces ever.
Oh, I noticed. I was going to ask you that. So you should. Now, how about but event space registrations is okay, but the colons have to be closed up.
That's right.
Okay. I'm sure it'll tell me if I forget.
Well, we have plenty of resources that you can access and plenty of videos and stuff like that. But hopefully we'll get all of these straightened up together while we're together so you don't have to worry about it in the future.
Okay.
The last piece of the financial area is just your payment processor. So right now we don't have anything set up. I'm going to go ahead and set up a demo MAH account.
Okay.
And then once you've set this up with Heart, it's going to be your login credentials.
Okay.
But we'll put that there for placement.
Okay. Now, if I want someone to be able to pay by PayPal, do I add that in there?
We cannot use PayPal in MemberClicks.
So that would be totally outside. I'd have to somehow attribute the revenue back in here as if they gave me a fistful of cash.
Right. Basically. You could create, yeah, I don't know how you would need to create like maybe an ad hoc invoice or something to account for that, but I wonder if there's let's take a peek at something. If I create I wonder if I've created an invoice. I'm wondering if you can just like if I select pay invoice, you have to put either card information in.
Yeah, what's on your drop down there for credit where it says payment type?
Offline payment. Let's check.
Then
I wonder
what the type would be.
it won't let me. So if it's an offline payment, we have to have an area to put in a check number.
You could put in now for yeah, let's see, cash. Now what's in your drop down there? Offline.
Wire transfer.
Yeah, there you go.
It
But
still wants
they don't. The system doesn't validate the check number. You could put in, you know, you could put in some sort of a PayPal transaction number, right?
I would think. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So that would work. So you could create an ad hoc invoice. You could do an offline payment, and then you could put in whatever the PayPal transaction number was.
Okay. All right.
That would work.
That works.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Do you have any other questions over any of these financial pieces?
Oh, not yet, but I'm sure I will.
Awesome. That's perfect. So the next thing I want to get to are our attributes. So I think we talked a little bit about attributes, how it's just a fancy word for saying a piece of information tied to a member's profile.
Okay.
I'm going to create attributes. Well, since you don't have information collected on your subscribers at this time, if you would want to send me, and I'm going to put this in a homework follow-up email that I'll send you, if you want to send me the pieces of information you might want to collect, like what's maybe a piece of information you'd want to collect on your members? Other than these built-in attributes. So we have these built-in as well.
That's what I'm thinking. Are these drop-down fields or are they text fields?
It can be either. It can be whatever type you would like to create.
Okay. So if you wanted to have some sort of historical reference, I met this person at this thing. They were former members of whatever. You know, some sort of a comment. Is that something which would be a custom attribute?
That's exactly right. So what I would do is say add custom attribute. I'm going to call this a notes field.
There you go.
We can even call it an internal notes field.
Okay.
To make sure that we permission it so it doesn't show up in their profile. And then we have all of these options. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what each of these are. Obviously, some of them are intuitive, like country. That means we're collecting country information. Date and time would be like, you know, their birth date, if you'd want to collect that. We have the option to collect a file from them. So like I would like your resume for some reason.
Okay.
This will give them the option to upload a file. Image will give them the option to upload an image, like maybe a logo, or a picture of themselves.
Right.
Number is just going to be strictly a number, no special characters or spaces.
And where'd that number come from? Is that a number that the system would fill, like the member number?
This number would be like your. I'm trying to think of an example. How many kids do you have? 4.
Oh, I see. It's a numeric field. Gotcha.
Exactly. We have a selection set, so this is going to be a drop down. So, you know, do you have kids? Yes or no. We can set it up so where it would. So this gives you like an example of how it's going to look. So this is what we'll be using when we create your forms, like your membership application form or sponsorship form.
Okay.
So when we drag it.
The attribute management is something which is internal, which we do, right? It's not something that you do.
That's right.
Okay.
So in this case, you can decide if it's going to look like this. They can only choose one option. If you want it to be a drop down, only choose one option.
Now, can we go back to the right hand corner where you had selection set chosen?
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to have excuse me, if I wanted to have a custom field, a custom attribute rather, it has to be an individual attribute. If I wanted to have both a file and an image, I'd have to have 2 custom attributes.
That's right.
Okay. So are those all right? It would seem now. I'm thinking out loud here. It would seem that what I would want to have at this point is image, number, and text.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. So what would the image be that you'd be collecting?
Well, I'm suspecting it would probably be a company logo.
Okay. So we would just title it and then select what type we're collecting.
Okay. Oh, save and add another. I'm moving my mouse as if I can click on things.
I know it's confusing when you're like, wait, what's going on here?
Why is the arrow flying around?
So we did company logo. What else?
What was that? What was the other one? There was I forgot what the choices were. It was file.
What kind of file?
Well, I'm thinking company info.
And you think that would be a file, company info, or information?
Right. If they wanted to send me something or if I wanted to put something in there saying they are a $10 million company with 500 employees, it would be a file I could generate. Could I generate a file then and associate it with that attribute?
Let me see if I have an example of this.
Does that go in text?
Wait, attributes. Let me see if there's a file. I'm wondering. I think you could just do a text box. And we have an image. There's not a file, and it is image so badge. So if I looked at the profile list for a badge, and I'm going to show you how you can do this as far as searching, but I just want to know, where is it? Huh.
So you're searching attributes.
That's right, because this is how you can also search your profiles by these different pieces of information.
Okay, so you can have as many custom attributes as you want.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so if I end up not wanting company information, I can just delete it. Or if I wanted to add 2 more, I could add them.
That's an awesome question. So you can add as many as you want as we go along. As far as deleting, once a piece of information from a profile is tied, so the second somebody uploads a file with their company information, this will no longer be deletable.
Ah, okay.
if you just absolutely knew you didn't want it anymore, you could contact me or our help team, depending on where you're at with the process, and we can contact our engineers and have them erase that information and delete it for you. But we do that just to prevent accidentally deleting a ton of info from profiles.
You mean like if people are stupid and push the wrong button? That would
That's exactly
happen.
right. That's exactly right. But we can delete it for you if we need to.
Okay, so if now in that case I want to change that from a file to text.
We can do it now, but you wouldn't be able to do it once information had been collected.
Okay, so if I wanted to add information in that case, I'd have to cut and paste as opposed to being able to import a file.
What are you cutting and pasting into?
Well, I'm thinking of reasons why I want to have a description. Okay, one of my subscribers is member clicks. I want to have information about them. In one case, I could pull in some prepackaged file that you provide describing your company and drop it in there as a file, if that were the type. If not, if it said text, I'd have to go out, look at this document you prepared, cut it, and paste it into the field as text. Am I getting that right?
Say that one more time.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Let's make up that you're a subscriber company.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have information about you. I could go to your website or call you, and I could import from you a file, a Word document, and pop it in there if the attribute type were file. If the attribute type instead were text, I would have to open the Word document, select, cut, and paste into the attribute as text.
I see what you're saying. Yes. Or if we went ahead and chose text, then it would just be a text box that would have their information already filled out in it. Now, what you can do with this, you can see that information in the profile, or we have the opportunity to export a list, like we can export the information into an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out what's the more useful thing to do here.
I kind of think that maybe the text area, and I'm only saying that because you can import it into an Excel spreadsheet. If it's a file, you can't import a file into the spreadsheet. You'd have to reprint it out separately.
Okay. All right.
Unless you think it's just going to be tons and tons and tons of information.
No, I may not have anything. I'm just trying to figure out what I could possibly need to have an accommodation for.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I guess if I had, now we have what? The image, the logo, the text field for information, and then I guess the last one I could possibly need would be just notes.
Cool. Now, you can
or
definitely... Noters.
Sorry.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I laugh at my own typos too, so I should, I'm taking a...
We'll be laughing a lot. When we get into content training, you just wait. I'm going to be typing all over the place.
Well, I noticed on your sample template invoices, somebody had member clocks.
Well, we do that so everybody in that example or in that sample website, that's all done. Like everything's put in there by people who work here. So people do stuff like that to be funny too. They'll just do stuff like that.
I'm sure.
So now that you kind of know how attributes work, you can think through. So there are 3 different kinds of custom attributes. I think we talked about this, but I'm going to re-go over it. We've got the custom. So these are pieces of information that you would want to collect on your members that we wouldn't know anything about.
Right.
So those would just be fields that you'd have to tell me, and you can think on it and send me a list, or on our next call we can add more, or you can come in here and try to add more. Right now you'll notice we can delete these, but like I said, once you tie information to any of these, we wouldn't be able to change it or delete it. So now we're free to do whatever we want.
We have the important things.
Yeah, so the built-in attributes.
Company name, contact name, email address, physical address, phone numbers. So if you can have, yes, plural phone numbers, plural physical addresses, plural emails, but you can only have one contact.
Right. So to go through these, as far as name, we can collect prefixes, middle names, and suffixes if you want to.
Now, what happens if it's a company?
Okay. There still would have to be a person in charge of that company, like a person who's managing the subscription, though, right?
Yes. That will be the person that we send the bill to, the invoice.
Exactly. Exactly. So you would put in the company as the organization name.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
And then the person managing the subscription would be, their info would go in here.
You're up at name.
Right.
So you have actually two people you can put in there, the name and the contact name.
Technically, you could have two different. Generally, they're the same.
Okay. All right.
Email addresses. So within every one of these attributes, we can create, and this is kind of confusing, but we can create up to 5 additional labels. So you could have home, you could have work, you could have like a main, employer, maybe company.
You could put a person's name in, right? I mean, if there were 5 contacts at MemberClicks, I could put in Adrienne, Fred, Sally, Joe, and Tom.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, so if I'm a company and I subscribe with you, could there potentially be anybody underneath my subscription?
Yes. Yes. So conceivably, you could have, well, pardon me, since subscriptions are by company, if we have, a couple, 3, 5, 10 people at that company whose emails we want to capture, because there's turnover, Adrienne leaves. Now we got John coming in taking her place. I'd want to have the ability to somehow capture and retain the information. Excuse me, the email information for multiple individuals at one subscribing company.
So this is sounding to me like an organizational member type, and let me show you what that means.
Okay.
We can do an individual or an organizational member type. If it's an organization, so like a company, I'm going to use this as an example. The company would have their own separate profile. So I'm going to show you like organization. These are all organization profiles.
Now, where did you go to do this now?
I'm on the home page.
Okay.
And I just have a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to I have another call at 11.
Okay.
But maybe we can get this part figured out so then we can, we'll pick back up tomorrow where we left off. But
okay.
So I'm at my home page dashboard at my home icon.
Uh-huh.
I'm back on the MemberClick site.
Yes.
Organization is their company. So this is going to take me to all their company profiles. So let's look at just one of these. For example, one of these is Good Company. This would be all the info about the organization. We would have contact info on the organization, and then down here, these would be custom attributes.
Down at the bottom, of course, this personal info?
Yeah, it's going to look a little bit differently. This is set up kind of weird.
But that gives me what I'm looking for. It lets you have information about people within an individual subscriber company.
Right. So this would be the company, and then we can go to linked profiles. So these are all of the employees or kind of like linked profiles to the company. So in this case, there's 7, which we know by looking at this attribute here.
Yes.
And then these are all of the people underneath them. And they have their own profile as well. So we can go to their individual profile, and this has their individual information.
Oh, that's very good. Okay.
Is this what you would like this?
Yeah. Because if we have, let's say we have 50 subscribers, there could be 500 individuals covered by those 50 subscribers. So you'd want to be able to fill in your database, because one of the most difficult things is tracking people as they move from company to company.
Okay. You would select a key contact, so you'll notice if I go back, you would select a key contact. The key contact would be a person that could update who are linked profiles. So the key contact will log in with their login credentials, and instead of only being able to update their profile, they'll be able to update the organization's profile info as well as who's linked. So if somebody leaves, the key contact would be able to go in and unlink them, and then they could add somebody else if somebody's hired.
So this is the individual subscriber can do this within their own profile.
An individual subscriber can update any of their own information in their profile. A key contact would be an individual subscriber with special permissions to update their own profile, the organization's profile, and who's linked. They can't update linked members' info, but they can update who and who is not linked.
Okay. So now let's say that Teresa Herman down there quits, but Mailers Hub, don't want to lose her contact info. Does the system retain it, or if the key contact unlinks her, it all just goes poof?
If they're unlinked, so if I unlink Teresa Herman, she's gone from this company. However, if I search, there she still is. So now she still has she still has a profile as an employee, but she's not linked to a company anymore. So from here, we would probably want to put her maybe as like probably like a prospect profile.
Yeah.
And then we would still retain all of her information.
Okay. Oh, that's very good. Okay, I like that. Because whatever happened to Adrienne? Well, she was here. Let me see if I have her personal email in her profile. And I can call Adrienne and say, where are you working now? And go from there. Okay, like that.
Awesome. So we're going to have you.
You got to go. I don't want to hold you.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Throwing you off the call.
So I know that we're an organizational member type. This is actually really helpful. And so we can, on our next call, so tomorrow I'm going to send calling credentials and now, so not 2 minutes before our meeting tomorrow, and we'll just plan on jumping back on the phone call at 10 in the morning, then we'll pick back up where we left off with attributes, and we'll just go from there. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yes. So now if Michelle wants to view today's training session, she goes to this memberclicks.com forums and the number videos, and she just, is that it?
No, it's a little different.